Yeah, hi. Uh, Shall we just begin? Um, Kushit, I'll start and you can just take over. Um, I think for ShikarGah, just to begin with, for ShikarGah, the most fruitful thing here has been sorry about that, has been going about the field and the community members in phases. And that's why for us, when there have been certain deadlines, we've been able to like interact with the community members more because we've given them certain date and timeline to keep themselves free for us. Until now, we've just had this one um, immersive engagement with them that we had in Feb, that we had uh, told that we'll be going there for a workshop. Um, Interestingly, and I'll share some pictures from the documentation, some videos. Uh, our first approach to it was meeting the elderly, the people who have seen the art, who have taken this, learned this oral tradition from their elders, um, and now they're either not survived by children or they have children who are not into this art form. Some have children who have taken up contemporary theatre practices in Kashmir, interestingly. Um, and yes, we had like most of them. We had men mostly, volunteering for interviews, for insights on this art form. Um, to which I think I'll just share uh, the the mode of conversation with the members has been very thankfully easygoing. But even when you had the camera on, and something you'll see about them is that they're very um, they're very used to these questions. They're very used to being called the museum specimens or being treated as one. They're very used to this whole debate on Bhan Pathar as this dwindling art form. Uh, but once we were there on field and we had these specific moments when we were talking to them off the screen of camera, and uh, I think what was more enlightening was um, it really changes your perception despite being a Kashmiri or coming from Kashmir. It changes your perspective or your perception on Bhanpatra and its community members, because it's coming from a very personal reflection here, because I feel that I had to do a lot of homework uh, after each day, thinking about, oh, what were my, what all I perceptions I had in mind, or uh, how I would otherwise think of this community, which is located on the suburbs of the city. Um, yeah, and to that, even when we were talking with Asim was with us, um, he was the person who was doing the documentation work, and we were just having conversations with him, and we were realizing how much um, potential we see here in terms of culture, in terms of the political thought the community holds, in terms of the ethos and cosmos of Kashmiriyat and being a Kashmiri. Bahanpatha community has retained, and it's so much so a part of their lives that it has been uh, it's an and it's a very it's a gradual process of enculturation. So the children, their women, and their uh, all the community members. That way, you'll see those aspects, those sides of um, uh, consciousness in them, which has been there even when they've been brought up. But moving on from there and moving on to the conversations that we've had with the artists, and while I say that most of them already had these answers ready, because some of our questions to begin with were so cliche and mainstream, about talking about, oh, what was it? And oh, what is Band Pathar, what does it mean to Kashmir, where we eventually moved out of those questions and into more of their personal stories on this. And I think that has been groundbreaking for us, getting into these personal narratives, getting into these, getting this little insight um into uh, their journey of Bhan Pathar, the time they've survived, right from the time when Bhan Pathar was one of the most loved art forms to, uh, of course, discrimination has been there throughout, but to something like the 90s and late 80s and 90s when Kashmir was under insurgency and the sentiments for self-determination were soaring high, and you had armed resistance being taken up by people. At that time, of course, what happened to uh, to these artists, and what uh, how were they merged with the larger sentiment of the Kashmiri population, or they weren't, or so. I think conversations on these and on to for instance, one of them says how they've survived not just the political turmoil, but they've also survived this technological boom that has taken over, that has happened over the years. So yeah, I think we've just been for us. The starting point has been having these meaningful conversations with them and moving on to something we called workshop. We didn't go very systematically about it. I feel it's too corporate a word to use for our engagement with them. But within that so-called workshop, we did come for a community reading of one of the translations of Kashmiri Bhan Pathar play, an oral play that had been um, uh, uh, documented, that had been sort of written down in Kashmiri, and then one of the members from the community, Mr. Firdos, did this wonderful translation of it into Urdu and Punjabi, surprisingly. And once we opened up um, the translation play, the translated play with the active actors, Bhan Pathar artists. Um, we didn't go for otherwise the culture in theater is that you go for a single reading and then come down and share your thoughts. But the nature of such a conversation turned out to be quite interesting because uh, although we did say that we'll discuss it in the end, but the artist has so much to say and sort of intervene at so many important um, colloquial angle to the play, or um, on some corrections to be made to the play, or how they remember this oral play from their masters. Um, so those interventions, so we just let it be, we just allowed it to go their way, and just we stopped and discussed after every dialogue, after every character, and they had something interesting to say about it. They joke about it. That informality for us was also like very, very crucial, because we were at Khushid's home, and Khushid's mother this this wonderful, wonderful host who had been hosting us, and she knew that some members from the neighborhood are coming. They're coming for a workshop. They're coming for. So I think, yeah, overall, moving on from that interview method to something more of informal discussions, where the camera was just positioned on the tripod at one corner, and we were just we were just talking about the play or how could it be staged. I feel like even when we've not opened up the conversation on how to stage it, the one of the elder members was already saying on, they were already intervening, saying, oh, this, if you were to do it, you could do it like this. And then like, it's not us who are doing it, it's not just Khushid and I, but it's the community that we're thinking of opening it up to. I'll share some. I think I've just been going on about talking. In my head, I'm still there. But I'll just share some of the videos. We did also go for a short trip to Pulwama, and yeah, once I show you the video from that, maybe I can just um, I'll just share the video. Yeah. This is Amkak. Amkak is also the it's a word of endearment, calling him Kak.
Where we can only see thumbnails, Janice.
Yeah, I'll just open it.
Yeah. I can't see anything, Janice. Can others see the? I can hear something, but very faintly. I can't see the image. I can only see thumbnails on.
Wait, I'll just.
You have to share the whole screen.
I have shared it. It's telling me it's paused. I don't know why.
No, it's not showing you. I think you have to share the whole screen. If you see that option, you can share a window or share a screen. Share the whole screen.
I'll stop sharing and.
Yeah, just try it. And also, what do you think? Yeah, now we can see them. What is he speaking about, Janice?
Yeah. We were asking Amkak about his. He was telling about some important, notable people from Balpura, that is the place where we are in Mathura, where they all live. And then he was going back into his childhood memory. He was talking about some notable performers who were um, uh, who are actors and also who are musicians, from whom he has learned most of the skill, and whom he remembers, of course, endearingly. He also went on to, because now Amkak mostly does a lot of Sufiana Kashmiri music, which is the Kashmiri indigenous, but a mixture of Persian influence on it. It has Persian influence on it. So he's a musician, Amkak. And although he's learned Band Pathar, he's done it in his youth. He's also uh, retained his love for playing different instruments, singing Sufi kalams on music, and so he's mentioning them. Khushid goes on asking him about what all plays does he remember, and he's been naming a few here. I'll just share another. So Amkak is almost 81 years old. That's what he's told us. And of course, he's very aged, one of the senior most members in Mathura. Just you can all just see.
Sorry, we're not able to hear this, Jan.
Oh, you're not able to hear this? Did you say?
Yeah, we can't hear the sound. We can see the
Oh,
volume.
no, not this. How is that? Just what to do about that?
I have about 5 minutes left for the presentation.
Oh, maybe I can just then show some pictures. If that works. Yeah, I'll share some pictures from the reading that we've done. Default, I'm sorry about that. I don't know, it's not opening exactly. Which is not the case. We tried it. It does open, but maybe we can just show it some other time, or we can share the drive link with you guys, and you can just go over the. Yeah. The next, of course, from here, I'll just continue quickly sum it up. From here, what we are looking at is June ending, that is post Eid ul Azha. We are looking for a local event, which is going to be a seminar, of course. But outside of that, we are starting with rehearsals with this group, the cohort with which we did the reading, which includes these young boys who are doing theater in Srinagar, which also includes some of these elderly members. And so we've taken their insights, and they've given us ideas about how to, how to go about it, which dialect of Urdu to use when we are doing this play, and what's the purpose of the play, and so on and so forth. So we'll be 20th June, hopefully we'll be beginning with the rehearsals with them. And then we'd like to open up the play and see which all spaces could host us in Srinagar itself to go for such a play, which is actually the trickiest part, because even if we do go for rehearsals in Balpora, Vathura, the challenge will be to see where all we can take it, because uh, because there are very open state leanings that you will find there, leanings with the state, the propaganda side of portraying Bhan Pathar. But then you have you have spaces, but you have very little audience that comes, very little viewership that way, that would come for um, a apparently toned down version of this play and see it like outside of proscenium. We are looking at an open space, maybe in the garden, maybe in a flat room. I don't know. I mean, without any levels. But that's also to see what insights the cohort has on this, the actors and crew have on this. So we feel like the rehearsal space, that space is going to be the game changer in conceptualizing further the new Bhand movement, in ideas about contemporarizing it, in especially on the questions of how to take it forward, how to make adjustments, how to be a little, compatible with people from, on gender issue, for instance. We did ask many of them about if women have been doing Bhanpatha, and some of them had been, some of them discontinued, some of them, of course, under societal pressure and whatever stigma it brings to you, just were interested. They would sit in these gatherings but never perform. I think the next step would be to move on from this space and to get into the nuance of performance, of folk performance, folk performance versus performance by members of a particular caste. So some of it which we are also looking at tackling in this, like going over in the upcoming seminar. Yeah, I don't know. Khushi, if I'm missing something, please feel free to add. I've been very basic with the, giving a basic idea of what all we've been touching upon. Yeah, if you're there.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, we did workshops, we did interviews, and we got a play translated. So far now, we are heading towards this local program in which we thought up a seminar, and we are inviting people from the bot community itself, in which we have this those already on board, and we have another scholar who have written these plays in Kashmiri language. He's also on board for the seminar. And yeah, after this we want to go for a production if if our budget is allowed. Yeah. Yeah, this is what we wanted to do right now.
I just wanted to understand this production that you're thinking of. Is it something that is taking into account the rehearsal space, as you mentioned, that sort of this thing, because there's been the process so far has also been sort of speaking to people from the community, reflecting on Bhanpatha, its status today, also thinking about going back, thinking now kind of thing, right? Like you were saying. So does the rehearsal become a form, or is it that we are looking at
No,
sort of the Urdu version?
rehearsals are the processes, even these workshops are the processes. So it is the level we reached. We reached till now, and after this we had this another level, which is a production level, which we are thinking of to document extensively as a production, not as a rehearsal or workshop, because we have already crossed these levels, workshop levels and seminar level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also to quickly add to that, we're also looking at, if not from, I mean, when we say workshop, the only place where we see it in rehearsal is when we're talking about doing drama, creating drama, making theater, which a lot of the young boys from the community are already equipped with. So arriving at that process, even if it's something as trivial as a theater game, for instance, and then getting a Kashmiri part to it or a Kashmiri comparable into it, would be nice to see how we can come up with a sustainable module of doing theater and drama in Kashmir while also retaining Bhan Pathar traditions to a very large extent. To so much so that it's one of the dominant factors there. So I think in rehearsal spaces we really want to crack that and not just cram up, mug up lines and then just throw them and think about blocking ups quite later. So that's why we are actually thinking about at least 2 weeks of intensive rehearsals, minimum 10 days, that we can we can get cracking on these other parts that come into making a theater or making a sustainable production or whatever comes in this production process that we'd want to see. Or if these people have, the cohort has something more to ideate on. They've been giving us good ideas while we were reading the play, so we felt charged that way. We had some ideas that got us going about it. So we'd like to see what the rehearsal space that way holds, and maybe we can come up with a devising mechanism. I'm not saying it has to be very very particular and very like structural, but we'd love to experiment with in the rehearsal space. So yeah, maybe we're refraining from using the word workshop, but let's see.
Any questions for Rashid and Janice? Who's Firdaus Karati? Sorry,
Is a translator from the
who's done the translation?
Yeah.
And the Kashmiri scholar is someone who's
He's also from the community. He had documented 18 plays into Kashmiri language.
he had translated.
He documented.
Documented. And that is
Yeah.
published as a book?
Yeah. Yeah, that is published book.
Is it available?
It is available, but it is not.
It's in Kashmiri.
It is in Kashmiri, yeah.
Yeah, but it'll be nice if we can, maybe if you can, we'd like to keep a copy.
Yeah, we have got some of the copies from him. Yeah, we paid him for that.
No, I think we really have to schedule that conversation with Anuradha, and we'll do that very soon, even with Benel. I think both of them, it's been pending, but we'll work on that in the next week, I think. Yeah. No. And I think, we'll carry on further with discussing this. Thank you for this update. Maybe we can move on to the next.